which is very unusual for a pragmatic goat. You'll be more unicorn than Capricorn today as the stars enhance your imagination and creativity. Aquarius, you may need to meditate an ongoing family tiff. If a standoff between household members has been going on for way too long and is beginning to interrupt the lives of others, it's time to step in and take the initiative. Pisces, it's high time you placed more emphasis on pleasurable activities starting today. If you don't have a hobby or project you feel passionate about, then take some time out to think about a particular pastime you've always wanted to try. And that's your horoscope for today, brought to you with the kind compliments of Jyoti's Puja Store of Main Road Chase Village for all your puja needs. And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you from the management and staff of U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. And if it's your anniversary, happy blessed anniversary. Your quote for today: you display who you truly are through your words and actions. Stay positive in thoughts, words, and deeds. Join me same time tomorrow for your daily horoscope. I am Irma Ratan Singh, wishing you a safe, blessed, and positive day ahead. Stay tuned to U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio, for great programming throughout the day. Up next is You Talk with Kenrick Jagannath.
Well, thank you very much, Uma, for today's daily horoscope. You can join Uma again tomorrow at the same time for another edition of our horoscope here at 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. It's just about 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, and that time check came to you through the kind courtesy of Radio 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. I am Kenrick Jagannath, welcoming you to today's edition of the morning program, You Talk on 97.5 FM Hot Like Pepper. As I look out of our studio here in Couva in central Trinidad, well, it's a bit gloomy this morning. The sun is trying to peek out, and the Met Office would have indicated, well, we can expect some showers today. Note that the Saharan dust is in the air, so those of you who are suffering with respiratory ailments, well, then you need to take all the necessary precautions. Let's go to some commercials this morning, and when I come back, we'll continue with today's edition of the morning program.
Jyoti's Puja Store is your one-stop puja store for all puja, wedding, and cremation materials. Also available books, mithai, and murtis made to order. Visit Jyoti's Puja Store today and be greeted with the kindest and most courteous staff with best prices and secured parking. Jyoti's Puja Store located at 542 Southern Main Road, Chase Village, Shigwanas. Contact 671-3849.
A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited of 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo for all your hardware materials from foundation to finish. Not forgetting all your general contracting needs. We have it all at A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited, located at 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo. Just call Tiki Ali at 650-2180.
A&S Hardware are wholesalers and retailers of plywood, an assortment of lumber, galvanized pipe, hollow section, and steel. Customers can enjoy special prices on white pine and pitch pine doors.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
To you, Newsday Classifieds. Take Value Optical to be your partner.
I do.
I do.
I now pronounce free eye test from Value Optical for Newsday Classified customers. Call the Newsday Classified reps for more information. You may now kiss the bride.
Yes, indeed, and a very good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and thank you very much for choosing 97.5 FM Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio as your radio of choice. I am Kenrick Juggernaut, and yes, I'll be taking you until the hour of 9 this morning as we look at some of the issues of the day, the challenges facing us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and also give you, our ardent listening audience, an opportunity to share your thoughts and to share your views with us. Good morning, people. Good morning, and welcome to our morning talk show, the most interactive morning talk show on the airwaves of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me also say a very special good morning to our international audience streaming live with us. Good morning to all of our neighbors here at Exchange Lots in Couva. Good morning, and thank you very much for being part of the 975 FM Hot Like Pepper family. Well, it's just about 24 minutes here past the hour of 6 o'clock. And let me remind you that time check came to you through the kind courtesy of a radio 975 FM, a Hot Like Pepper. At this time, let me keep you abreast of some of the major stories as published in today's edition of the Newsday newspaper. Remember, you can go outside there and purchase your copy of this publication. It is priced at only $3. And it's available at all leading newsstands throughout Trinidad and Tobago in today's edition. 64 pages in total. Today it's a Thursday, August 13th, 2020. Well, on the cover of today's edition, drinks company faces backlash over online rant. Ramsaran's fire employee over remarks. Now that story you can catch on page 3 of today's edition of the Newsday newspaper. You see, sometimes people have a tendency to let their emotion get the better of them, not taking into consideration that what you post on social media or what you say to people, there can be certain repercussions. Now, this is the repercussions as a result of that rant and that post by an individual attached to the company, that is the Ramsaran Dairy Products. That story is on page 3 and you can catch all of the details, but I know that a number of you outside there would want to give your take on that, but when I open the lines you can do so. And to this end, Ramsaran fires employee over remarks. So those stories are on page 3. On page 5, Venezuelan woman faked death to survive, cop detained in connection with brutal attack. An 18-year-old Venezuelan empanada vendor endured hours of torture after being stabbed, beaten and raped by a group of men who left her in the bushes of the M2 ring road in La Romaine, but only after she pretended to be dead. The story said after an intensive search by police to find the teen's attackers, one day later, police arrested one of their own colleagues in connection with the crime. Over to you, Gary Griffith. Student disappears days after being followed. State needs more time in case against a former Attorney General. And now this story is on page 7. The prosecution is still not ready to proceed in the corruption case against former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan and former UNC Senator General Ramdeen, who are alleged to have conspired to financially reward themselves with fees from legal briefs from the state. That story, as I said, is on page 7. Well, let's turn to some politics now, and the Newsday is filled with a number of political stories. One of the major stories, as published on page 8, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. He is claiming that the United National Congress is trying to destabilize the country. The Prime Minister is accusing the UNC of attempting to destabilize or delegitimize the government's victory during the election through its call for recounts. My apologies. PNM edges UNC in popular vote. Well, according to the story, in last Monday's general election, the ruling People's National Movement won 3,222 votes to the UNC's tally of 309,188 votes. This according to preliminary figures from the Election and Boundaries Commission. ABC voter turnout was 58%. Well, in our panel discussion on Monday night, both Nirvan Maraj and I would have agreed that the voter turnout would be in the vicinity of between 55 and 60%. Well, according to the EBC, it's 58% of the population, that is the voting population, went out to cast their ballot. PDP's Watson Duke concedes. Yes, Watson Duke, Progressive Democratic Patriots, Tobago East candidate in Monday's general election, has conceded defeat. Yesterday, or rather on Tuesday, he called for a recount in the electoral district, having lost to the People's National Movement, Ayanna Webster Roy. Now, this is a story which I want to talk about here this morning, because yesterday I listened to the entire press conference as hosted by the Ministry of Health. You see, now that election is over, we still have all of these challenges in front of us. And people should take note of what the Chief Medical Officer, and by extension, Dr. Avery Hines, would have said at that press conference yesterday. Dr. Parasram, the Chief Medical Officer, brace for COVID-19 spike. Let me repeat that. Brace for COVID-19 spike. Dr. Parasram said, given the recent movement of people because of the political campaign and what have you, and some people not adhering to the guidelines as outlined by the Ministry of Health, well, this country can expect a spike in COVID-19 cases. Listen to what the Chief Medical Officer is saying to us this morning. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram warned Trinidad and Tobago to brace for a spike in COVID-19 cases within the next few days as a result of the recent mass gatherings coming out of the August 10th general election. He said during the Ministry of Health's press briefing. And Dr. Hines, epidemiological investigation, not so simple. And yeah, this is what I want you, the people, to pay more attention to. 26 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday. Let me pause deliberately. 26 new COVID-19 cases Wednesday. Listen to the report. A total of 26 people tested positive for COVID-19, according to reports released to the media by the Ministry of Health on Wednesday. On Wednesday morning, the ministry revealed that 8 people tested positive for the virus. And on yesterday afternoon, it was revealed that 18 more had tested positive. That brings the total of confirmed cases to 326. 8 deaths, and yes, 139 would have recovered. So it's a very frightening figure indeed. And based on what we heard yesterday from Dr. Avery Hines, and the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasram. Well, Trinidad and Tobago, we in some for real challenging times ahead. Okay, so let's move on to some other stories as published in today's edition of the Newsday newspaper. Remember, you can go outside there and purchase your copy of this publication. It is priced at only $3. I have a caller here on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Well, it's a very good morning to you, Henrik.
Good morning, boy.
And I am, concerned about one. Well, COVID-19 is uppermost in our mind now that the election is over.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to ask ourselves, was calling the election at this time a good move or a gamble in terms of the spread of COVID-19?
Well, now that the election,
it's done,
now that the election is done, is over, the dust has settled, and from all appearances, despite these recounts in 5 constituencies, the People's National Movement, according to the EBC, preliminary figures would have showed that they would have won 22 seats as opposed to the UNC 19. Preliminary figures.
Yeah, preliminary.
Yeah.
Now, but those preliminary figures tell us 2 things. It tells us that the voter turnout was very low, 58%.
Yeah.
It also tells us that the popular votes this time around went to the PNM. And it means that the UNC would have to do some soul searching as to why these votes went that, the popular votes in particular went that way, as to why we had a low voter. Now, people will blame it on COVID, yes. And both leaders, you would realize that they had a drop in people who voted for them as, representatives. And they themselves might have to do some self-examination. Why? How come I lost so much votes in comparison to 2015?
And more than that, too, the both parties, the 2 major political parties, need to examine or look closely as to why they cannot cross that racial divide.
Exactly. That is crucial now.
Right. And
what happened with a statement made by somebody? Yeah,
2 things would have contributed towards the low voter turnout. One, COVID-19. Because people are fearful of contracting the virus. The other one, 2, is that a number of people are totally dissatisfied with the electoral process, with the election in Trinidad and Tobago. It's just putting one administration after another, but in essence, it does not. It does not really impact positively on their lives. So those are the 2 of the major issues why you may have a low voter turnout. Yeah.
I wonder if anybody in this country is so brave enough to look at all the manifestos of all the things to piecemeal a good one together.
Well, if you ask me, even the political leaders themselves, they are not too aware or too okra or educated as to what is published in the various manifestos. They may be very vague on it, but when you ask about the specifics, they cannot tell you.
Because I was just listening to Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan, an excellent individual. Of course, the party she was in, or she as leader, people had their views on it. Coming back from 2007, they gave it a chance when they merged. You understand?
Well, the COP, in my opinion, that party needs to reinvent itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, to reinvent itself to capture the imagination of the electorate. But as of now, we have a 2-party state in Trinidad and Tobago.
Because I thought that when they first came out in the early 2000s, their mantras, their philosophy was, a little forward thinking. You understand? But just like the NAR in 1986 to 1991, they swept the country 33-3. But by 1991, because of what we call austerity measures going to the IMF and being forced to do so, cutting public servant salary, etc., people didn't realize, and rightly or wrongly so, that what was done was in the interest of the country going forward, and not as spite or vindictiveness to anybody.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts on this view being shared by many outside there, that Kamala Persad-Bissessar must go? And I say that to you because I looked at a clip last night where she spoke about former Prime Minister and former leader of the UNC, Basdev Pandey, having lost at least about four or five elections. And she took that to task. She took that as an issue, and she went to town on that. Hence the reason why she said that Basdev Pandey must go. Now the boot is on the other foot.
The other foot.
Yeah.
Well, I think, as I said in the afternoon program yesterday, Kamala needs, now she could stay on as representative for Superior in Parliament, but she needs to tell her party loyalists and supporters that, look, I don't think I could handle both. I don't think I could handle being leader of the party and also a member. I'm getting along in age and thing, right? And she should tell the people whenever the election is internal elections that you look, I am not interested to run as political leader, right? And towards the end of the term, she should say, well, look, I'm not interested to run, but in the meantime, put in place what we call succession planning.
But in the main, you would appreciate that all 18 MPs elect
of course
have shown their support for Kamala Prasad. Yes, sir.
Of course, as I scratch your back and you scratch mine. You understand? But the 18 don't have the final say at the internal elections. If people are allowed to vote for themselves and not to be influenced by any jargon talk or anything, I think we would see a different result.
All right. Well, I hear you, Bawani, and thank you very much for your thoughts with me here this morning. Folks, we're heading up to the hour of 7 o'clock. Just about 21 minutes here to the hour of 7. And that time check came to you through the kind courtesy of Radio 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. Let me remind you that at around 7:30, I'll be hosting the President General of the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Mr. Nirvan Maraj. Mr. Maraj is usually here with me on a Friday, but because of other commitments tomorrow, he would have indicated that he wanted to be on the program today. Let's take another call on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Good morning, Kenrick. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning to you, Larry. What's going on, my friend?
Kenrick, I want to be corrected if I'm wrong. And in the past, Dr. Keith Rowley, in his press conference with the Ministry of Health COVID-19 briefing, stated that the government of the day will be taking the advice of the CMO. Isn't that what he said a couple of months ago in a press conference?
Well, I'm not too sure, but let me paraphrase it. Dr. Rowley said that the decisions taken by the government of the day are guided by the science and advice coming from the Ministry of Health and the top operatives. Go ahead.
So the top operatives will be the CMO?
The Chief Medical Officer and others and so on, yeah.
Well, then hear what Kenrick. Since before the election, we were talking about trying to make this thing mandatory in the country to wear masks. You saw on the campaign trail where media personnel was interviewing the candidates, leaders, as the case may be, and winers and the diners of the parties for the election. And every time an interview is being done, they pull down their mask to talk. And now, we didn't need the CMO or the other doctor to tell us that we're going to have a spike. I have been saying that in this radio station for more than a month now. And people just not paying the attention that they're supposed to follow a guideline and continue to do it and encourage people to follow that same set guideline. And look where we are today.
Yeah, but you cannot mandate people, Larry, to follow certain guidelines. You cannot mandate. Hold on, let me finish. You cannot.
No, Kenrick, you're wrong. Listen, in other countries, if you walk out of your house, you do not have on a mask, they're charging you $1,000 to start with.
Well, okay, that's. Let's look at Trinidad and Tobago.
We tend to follow certain things some our way. Why do I bring that here?
Well,
why do I bring it here?
So you are saying that it should be mandatory.
Kenrick is our life and situation right now with COVID.
But hold on. A mask, wearing of a mask, does not necessarily mean to say that you would not contract COVID-19.
Hold on, Kenrick.
It is just an additional security measure. Hold on. Just for argument purposes. You cannot force someone to wear a mask unless it is mandatory and a decision has been taken by the government of the day through legislation. You cannot force people or make it mandatory for people to observe social distancing. You cannot mandate that people wash their hands, sanitize their environment and so on. You cannot do that. It's one about personal responsibility. And if we are not prepared to adhere to the personal responsibility, well, then we'll face the consequences and repercussions.
Correct. Remember, you were clamoring with me when I told you that I suffer with asthma, and I just end up having to take the initiative to email the Minister of Health to talk about why asthmatic patients, we couldn't get a letter to prove that we couldn't wear a mask for a long period of time. And then the Minister of Health came out in a press conference and said, if you have asthma and bronchitis, what you can do is wear a face shield. So the same simple way the Minister of Health made it important for us asthmatic patients to understand, if you cannot wear a mask, you can wear a face shield. Just as I saw him wearing a face shield recently in an interview. So when you tell me that we cannot make it mandatory, well then here what? Let the population be infected with this virus that has no cure, and when we start seeing people dropping and dying, then it will be too late to make it mandatory. Because you know what, Kenrick? Trinidad and Tobago is a country, is a society, is a people. We tend to take things the wrong way, and we want to make it right. And when you talk to people, they tend to cuss you. When you're giving people proper advice, they don't want that. This country is in a bad state. Racism, both sides of the parties in this country, now we go to citizen, everything in this country is still upside down. Your safety is not adequately safe enough anymore because crime is on the rampage, cost of living, then you have racism, then you have COVID. Kenrick, when will it all end?
Well, I don't know. I do have the answer, Larry. I hear you. But I told you that, and I told the listening audience, that after election, post-election, we will have all of these challenges in front of us. How do we deal with it? And racism and ethnicity issues have always been with us. It only rears its head around election time. That is when you see the true colors of a people. But COVID-19, my friend, yes, 26 new COVID-19 cases. The toll now is 326. A very frightening figure indeed. But I understand your argument, Larry. You're calling for the government of the day to make it mandatory for people to wear masks. But even though they do make it mandatory, people still will not wear it when they're in the public. It's a cat and mouse game. If they see any security officers or police officers and so on, they will put it on. And after that, that's it. That's how we are as a people. We do not, and I agree with you, we do not take things seriously in this country. Everything in this country is a joke. Anyway, let me go to some commercials here this morning, and when I come back, we'll continue with our discussion. 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper. Stay with us here.
A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited of 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo for all your hardware materials from foundation to finish. Not forgetting all your general contracting needs. We have it all at A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited, located at 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo. Just call Tiki Ali at 650-2180.
A&S Hardware are wholesalers and retailers of plywood, an assortment of lumber, galvanized pipe, hollow section, and steel. Customers can enjoy special prices on white pine and pitch pine doors.
You can now listen to business news Monday to Fridays at 5 p.m. Get updated on all the latest business developments. Tune in to U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio, where we keep you informed, educated, and entertained.
Greeted in the wonderful name of Jesus. My name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, your chachi, your chacha, your grandpa, your grandma. We need to pray for our nation. God bless you. Thank you.
U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U975.
To you, Newsday Classifieds. Take Value Optical to be your partner.
I do.
I do.
I now pronounce free eye test from Value Optical for Newsday Classified customers. Call the Newsday Classified reps for more information. You may now kiss the bride.
Yes, indeed, and thanks for staying with us here at 975. I have a caller here on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 975. Good morning to you.
Ken.
Good morning, Chris. What's happening?
I see the hounds are snapping at the feet of those people, right? You know,
why would Dr. Keith Rowley want to take issue with the United National United National Congress calling for a recount?
Out of place. Huh? They have a right to have a recount, and he should just shut his mouth. Unless he feels that there's something that they could find there, that is the reason I could see. If you know there's nothing to be afraid of, well, go ahead and check it. You have the right to do that, check it out.
And the UNC is claiming that there would have been a number of inconsistencies and irregularities in the voting process.
Exactly.
Hence the reason why they want clarification from the EBC and all of this. Exactly. I mean, it's all par for the course, you would agree with me. Go ahead.
That's right. No, let me say something. I see a whole barrage, the hounds snapping at Mrs. Bisessa's heels. You know what it tells me? They wanted her to have a pick-up side. Before the election, she said, okay, everybody have a party, come. We're going to form an alliance, and everybody get a ministry. Everybody get a ministry. That is what they wanted, you know. That is what the whole side was, you know. A pick-up side to get in the, to have a ministry. And then what? Do what? Didn't serve the country, everything fall down flat after a while, but everybody served their own ends and they go about the business. When they didn't get that, they want to kill Mrs. Bisessa. Let me tell you something. You have a situation where there are process taking place. They would not wait and say, well, okay, let the process take place, and then Mrs. Bisessa, we meet in caucus and say, girl, you know, we find that they didn't take us forward together, and we appreciate if you... No. They come out in the public, you know. And as Indian politics, I'm saying this statement big and bold. Indian politics, they always come and wash the bloomers in the public. Every time they come out here and jump out, break up, for our next thing, for our next part, then next thing. What is going on here? What everybody hitting and baby for? Wait until the process takes place. Sit down and talk about everybody out from Maraj to Ford Kwan to whoever. And I am very disgusted with them. I'm totally disgusted with this Indian politics.
All right, but hold on.
Indian behavior.
Let me provoke you a bit. Last night I listened to a clip from Kamala Prasad Bisessa where she would have made the point that Basudev Pandey would have lost 4 elections and it was time for him to go. What's your take on this?
Well, okay, she has an opinion and they would say this, by the same measure she should go. But then wait until the process finish. Beat him caucus. This morning on the Fuarkan, Luran Milal, a whole barrage of them attacking. Get out. That is not the way you behave.
But Dr. Rural Murilal, as reported in one of the newspapers today, would have shown support for the leadership of the UNC and standing by Kamala Prasad Bisessa.
Not this morning. Not when I hear this on the news this morning. I heard what he was going to go to. I could be wrong, but I heard that this morning on the radio.
All right.
The point I'm making, Kenrick, God, let the process take place and sit down and cuss away the cost behind public.
But who from within the bowels of the UNC should take the mantle of leadership?
But this is the whole point. If you sit down in caucus afterwards and you talk, you could come with something. This Indian politics.
Let me ask a question here, and rhetorically, of course. Which politician from the United National Congress can garner support as Kamala Prasad Bisessa?
None of them. None of them. And I tell you something. The only problem they have with Kamla is she didn't put the pick-up side together to get him in government. That's the problem. And as far as I'm concerned, she was right not to pick up sides together and get the party as a party standing on its own, and who want to join the party, and not every election come, everybody form a party, and you come and you bring them in, you form an alliance, they get into parliament, they get a ministry, they go and they spend it, they have a good time, they go on about the business. No, that can't continue. She's right, and if she has to pay the price for it, so be it. Stand her ground.
All right,
and as far as I'm concerned, she was putting the UNC in right footing. And between you and me, I could just tell the UNC, I never was a member of your party. I don't have to be a member of your party. Take care, have a good day.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for your contribution here with us this morning. But this, even though as we try to analyze the results of the 2020 general election, and a recount is ongoing in 5 of the constituencies, note that Watson Duke would have conceded defeat in Tobago. The recount process is continuing in 5 constituencies. How that pans out in the next couple of hours or by later on this afternoon, well, it's another question altogether. But note that the Election and Boundaries Commission, in its preliminary results, would have indicated that the People's National Movement would have won 22 seats as opposed to the United National Congress 20. I just want to keep you abreast of some of the figures here. And let's look at San Fernando West. In San Fernando West, the PNM's Faris Al-Rawi received 1,806 votes more than the UNC's Sean Sobers. In Tonopuna, the PNM's Esmond Ford received 1,926 more votes than the UNC's David Naked. But the biggest margin of victory in all of the marginal seats was in the Toko Sangreguani area, where the PNM's Roger Monroe received 3,385 more votes than the UNC's Nabila Green. In Tobago East, Ayana Webster Roy beat Watson Duke by 1,261 votes, while in Tobago West, Shamfa Kojo ran away with 4,774 more votes than her PDP rival. Now, these are just some of the figures as released by the Election and Boundaries Commission. It's the preliminary results. My apologies. No. It's the Saharan dust is in the air and it's bothering my throat. Okay, so let's move on. The highest number of votes in all the constituencies was cast in favor of Dinesh Rambali. He is a newcomer to the political scene and the UNC's Chaguanas West candidate. He received the highest margin of victory, 13,624 more than his PNM rival. Rambali received a total of 15,502 votes, the highest number, followed by Dr. Rudal Munilal, who received 13,737 votes, and opposition leader and Siparia candidate Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who would have received 13,487 votes. Next came the UNC's Naparima candidate Rodney Charles, who received 13,306 votes. After this was the UNC's Caroni East candidate Dr. Rishi Sicharan, its Kuva North candidate Ravi Ratiram with 12,633 votes, and PNM's Aruka Maloney candidate Camille Robinson Regis, who received 12,633 votes. And finally, the PNM's top performer received lower members than the UNC's top performer. Let's take this call on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
According to the figures that you're reading, so I don't know if you understand it or I understand it the right way. But according to them figures that you're reading, then people see no problem. Then.
No, well, look, it is the candidate's right, and by extension, the party's right to call for a recount.
I talk about the recount. I talk about the problem in the constituency. Now I talking about the kind of vote you call whether fellas get. According people complaining. Even after Larry Sammy complaining too. Is there people have no problem? So, I want to tell Larry.
Oh, yeah. You mean based on the number of people who would have voted for a particular candidate, they should not be complaining for...
No, so I tell Larry, mind your business. See about yourself. See about your problem. And let me tell you something. Don't help none of them people in them constituency get anything or do anything. Because when you watch that kind of voting pattern, Larry just dancing, talking more with them people to try to help them. They don't want to help for them.
No, but hold on. It could be what you call a simple or a silent protest by the electorate outside there. They are dissatisfied with representation, dissatisfied with the government. Hence the reason why only 58% of the electorate voted.
You said you're satisfied with the government. When you look at the voting in the opposition area, like that numbers that you're calling, then people still have issues.
No, but hold on.
I just only giving you Larry Sammy what he's fighting for, right? Look at the voting money Larry get in that constituency.
No, all right, hold on. I understand your argument, but listen to this. Camille Robinson Regis would have received 12,633 votes in the Aruka Maloney area.
Okay.
And in the Maloney Aruka area, people would have been complaining about a lack of proper pipe-borne water, a lack of job opportunities, a lack of a poor infrastructure. So what's the point?
Yeah, but here what happened? When she pack a van, load that thing and carry it around, you think they care about any water and any construction and this and anything?
No, I'm trying to understand your point this morning,
Yeah, she know what to feed them or not to feed them.
So, in essence, you are saying that these people should not be complaining about anything because they voted en masse for these candidates.
The kind of vote I see that people voting, they don't have major problem in their constituency. And I don't know. You see, Dinesh Rambali, young man here, the kind of vote he get, the people down here have no problem.
Well, he received a total of...
They're not going to CC at all.
Well,
because we had a councillor who worked on them defenses, and you don't know she dead.
All right, Padre.
You understand?
Yeah, all right. Let's leave it there for the hour. But just to note that Dinesh Rambali, according to the preliminary results, would have received 15,502 votes in Monday's general election. Stay with us here, 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper. I know our callers are coming through, but I need to take the 7 o'clock newscast with Uma Ratan Singh. Stay with us here, 975.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 975 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
New 97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, multicultural radio.
Power to the listeners.
It is now time for Major News to the Hour, brought to you by Crystal Beverages Company, Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Elisha Limited, and the Trinidad and Tobago News Day.
This is the 7 a.m. news on U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. I am Uma Ratan Singh. Good morning. Sanitization continues in Tobago as the Immigration Division office at the Port Authority complex in Scarborough will be closed for sanitization until further notice. The advice comes from the National Security Ministry on Wednesday night that Immigration Enforcement Unit staff members housed at the office have been identified as part of a contact trace investigation for the novel coronavirus. As a precautionary measure, the ministry said all employees attached to that office have been quarantined. However, on Wednesday, 26 new infections were reported in Trinidad and Tobago, bringing the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases to 316. The Health Ministry latest available update puts the number of active cases at 179. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is seeking the public's assistance in finding 3 men in connection with an incident in Couva. According to the TTPS in a social media update, the men go by the nicknames Ketchup, Madman and Boy Boy and are wanted in connection with an incident which took place on August 10th, where police found a firearm, ammunition and a quantity of marijuana at the scene. Anyone with information on these men are asked to contact 555 or 800 TIPS or send information via the TTPS app. A 22-year-old San Juan man was arrested after trying to sell fake jewelry as authentic. According to a statement by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the 22-year-old man advertised a pair of gold bracelet via social media and met a prospective customer in Sangre Grande. The suspect allowed the customer to take the jewelry to be appraised at a jewelry store and requested the sale take place near the Sangre Grande police station. However, the TTPS officers of the Sangre Grande Criminal Investigation Department and Special Operations Unit carried out an anti-crime exercise yesterday in the afternoon, during which they paid surveillance to persons suspected of fraudulent activities using social media platforms. Before handing over the bracelets to the buyer, the man quickly exchanged the genuine pair with a pair of gold-colored costume jewelry bracelet of similar design. When he was approached by officers, it was discovered that the suspect had already hidden the genuine pair of bracelets in his slipper. He was arrested in connection with the incident. And as we move to our neighbors regionally in St. Vincent, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in St. Vincent is now demanding it illegal for a food business place, including supermarkets, to sell or provide food in a disposable plastic food service container or plastic bags. The ministry is moving forward to determine the use of plastic bags since August 1st, deeming its use to be unhealthy. Anyone found using the plastic shopping bags or containers will be committed to offense and liable of a fine of $5,000 and to a further fine of $500 each day during which the offense continues. Environmental health officials will be visiting food businesses to ensure that the use of plastic bags does not continue in St. Vincent. And as we switch across the globe internationally to the United Kingdom, teams across the world are working to develop a vaccine that will be effective against COVID-19. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called it the most urgent shared endeavour of their lifetime. In the UK, the heart of that effort is at the Howell Science Campus on an ex-RAF airbase. It is going to be UK's vaccines manufacturing and innovation centre plant brought forward by COVID-19. Chief Executive of the VMIC explained that the UK have already compressed the timeline into almost half and are expected to have the vaccine ready at the end of 2022, but hoping to have it available online by 2021. And on to the weather forecast for today. Trinidad and Tobago will experience morning showers in a few areas with a low to medium chance of an isolated thunderstorm. As the day progresses, conditions become fairer but with brief showers in varying areas. There will be a medium chance of an afternoon thunderstorm favoring southern coastal areas of Trinidad. Seas will be slight to moderate with waves 2.5 meters in open waters and less than 1 meter in sheltered areas. High tides at 11:51 a.m. and 11:13 p.m. Low tides at 4:30 p.m. Sunset at 6:24 p.m. The current temperature is 29 degrees Celsius and expected to reach a high of 32 degrees Celsius as the day progresses. And that brings us to the end of the news to 7 a.m. Join us again at 8 a.m. for more news. I am Uma Ratten Singh, wishing you a good morning.
Well, thank you very much, Uma, for today's 7 o'clock newscast. Note that you can catch Uma again for another newscast at 8 o'clock. The time in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, just about 7 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Time check, courtesy Radio 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. You're with the morning program on 975. You can call us this morning at 636-7547 and 227-5739. Let's go to some commercials this morning and say thanks to our sponsors for giving us this opportunity to present this newscast to you. Stay with us here, 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper.
Kathy's School Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's School Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited of 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo for all your hardware materials from foundation to finish. Not forgetting all your general contracting needs. We have it all at A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited, located at 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo. Just call Tiki Ali at 650-2180.
A&S Hardware are wholesalers and retailers of plywood, an assortment of lumber, galvanized pipe, hollow section, and steel. Customers can enjoy special prices on white pine and pitch pine doors.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Greeted in the wonderful name of Jesus. My name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, your chachi, your chacha, your grandpa, your grandma. We need to pray for our nation. God bless you. Thank you.
U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U975.
Well, it's just about 10 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock, and at this time, I'm mandated to play the selection for you. Yes, it's by Trishana Sukdeo out of South Trinidad, a nation building song indeed, a 13-year-old. Stay with us here, 975.
Let's build back our nation together.
Sure, this is what I have to say. Let us forget fight grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, working hard. For our country, you must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress, we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I see that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, let us build a nation together. So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause we know this is the only way. It's putting more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I see that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, let us build a nation together. This also goes for every Trinbagonian who want to live in a foreign land. Now is the time to come home and do something, instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I see that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, let us build a nation together.
W868 Studio.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that nation building selection day by Trishiana Sukdeo out of San Fernando, a 13-year-old. Good job indeed, Trishiana. Thank you very much for choosing 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. 17 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Time check, courtesy Radio 975. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing fine this morning, sir. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
What's happening?
Well, I watching all the antics and what people saying and the well, I don't know too much about Facebook and things, but from what I'm hearing, some unscrupulous, posting by people and also orchestration and so forth. So it's a very exciting, society.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is it plays on the nerve and thing on the population, which is a very sad thing.
Well, that is what social media is all about, bacchanal.
The but it is a sad thing, Ken, that this so-called social media has, such wide-ranging and impact on people, and people could just clutch onto some of these evil posting that people make, and they actually their whole life actually emanates from these things. Anyhow, this is by the way. Ken, one of the things that we are in a serious crisis. Put aside election and so forth, we are in a crisis as far as the COVID situation goes. And we have to blame ourselves more than that, right? So I looked on, I didn't go anywhere, right, for election, but go in and place my ballot and so forth. But I looked at people who were actually on the streets and parading and so forth, and I look at all of this neglect of distancing. Now, the distancing thing is more effective than wearing mask or shield. Now, that is scientifically proven. Distancing is more effective, and actually, so many of these people were not actually observing this at all. And the shocking thing is that, Ken, I don't want to call names, but some of our so-called leaders of our society, they were there, and it's a sad thing to know.
Would you have expected anything different, my friend? You see, in this election campaign, hold on. But in this election campaign, caution was thrown to the wind.
Yeah, but Ken, these people have to realize, and the exemplars of our society. No use mountain sentiments, and beside the mountain sentiment, you've seen in front of your eyes some of these people.
Well, that's in the past now. Is how do we go forward from here? 326 cases.
Look. I'm sorry to. I read a lot. I am a science person. I have a science base. I read a lot of science literature and so forth. Look at for example, in New Zealand, right? Auckland went, I think, close to 50 days with absolutely no cases. And so 50 days with no cases. And they were free to go about the place with no mask, restaurants open, malls open, blah, 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 blah. And then last week, I think sometime, they had 4 cases. And now it is, I think, either 7 or 8 cases. And would you believe me? The whole of Auckland has been locked down, Ken. The whole of Auckland has been locked down. And people is mandatory to wear masks.
So what are you suggesting, that we lock down the country and make wearing of masks mandatory?
Ken, I think we have to make sure that this mask thing, our legal system has to do something to ensure that mask wearing is a must. It helps. And the shield is in fact more effective than the mask. People should be wearing these things now that we are in a crisis. Now we're hearing that Cora is virtually filled up on X, Y, and Z and so forth. Where we put in these people when they need ventilators and so forth is a very, very sad thing. And the thing is this, we sitting and doing this and watching this and watching. And there are countries now. I raised it, and I think my good friend, I think Chris called, and he said he did not agree or something. So, but I have actually verified some of the progressive countries have gone ahead, even though some of these vaccines have not reached the third trial and so forth. Some of these countries have bought millions of dollars worth of vaccine for their population already.
Well, buying the vaccine is one thing. Whether the vaccine will work or not is another question altogether, because there's no empirical evidence outside there to suggest that a vaccine is available to cure or prevent COVID-19. There's none outside there. That's my information. Let's take another call on the line. Hello, good morning. Welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Good morning, Kendrick.
Good morning to you, dear. And how are you this morning? Good morning.
I'm doing a lot better today, but I want to address two things. First one is that COVID is going to spread like wildfire, and we have to cut losses. Either you wear a mask, you cover your face, and practice social distancing, or you risk getting infected. You may not die, but you risk getting infected. The incubation time in the body, some scientists have said it goes beyond 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be asymptomatic, you could be carrying it, just like cancer or any kind of virus that we have. So I think what we have to do now is just be more cautious, wash your hands, and it's up to you now to do that. And if you don't have a mask and you don't have something difficult, then God help you and you take a risk. And we can't keep living in isolation now. But what I see happening in the world is a lot of countries now are focusing on themselves. Like China right now is trying to build their own economy and not depend on foreign countries for imports. Same thing with the United States. They're trying to kind of keep themselves now. We're going to bring all the manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Same thing with the European Union. So I don't know what we're going to do here in CARICOM because the Prime Minister has not disclosed a plan for jobs or anything like that. We are waiting for China to come here to give us jobs. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that Ramsaran issue,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll share this with you. Do you know what they're doing to the population right now? And when I say they, who funds all these campaigns? Who owns Massey Stores? Massey Stores has been here since 1923, before the civil rights movement, when everybody was living in barracks. I'll tell you something. They own the media. They can sway all of us. Massey Stores made this comment because they want to deflect from the Black Lives Matter. There's a fear to question the corruption of government. So what you do is you play the race card. Every time it comes to politics, you throw the race card to get the population going. I know people who work at Ramsaran, and they love it, and they're very diverse. This company treats their employees fairly. I know a young boy who went to our public school system, couldn't get a job after he got out. And Ramsaran Plaza got him a job. Someone got him a job there. And he's only 19 or 20, and now he's driving a truck. They got him his driver's license, and he's responsible, and he's so proud of working in that company. I look at that and I say, that is when somebody makes a stupid comment about race and everybody gets passionate about issues, and we always play the race card when it comes to the last thing, or we cry. I say that the family member made a stupid mistake, and that was perpetuated by our education system and by our Prime Minister. He plays the race card, and he makes us point our fingers at each other and hate each other. He doesn't bring unity. I'm saying this because I've looked at the pattern of behavior of the PNM for all these years, and now Massey runs up and sides with them. You don't think Massey funds the PNM? Give us all a break. Let me tell you something. We are not. When the Syrians talked about the power and all the wealth, and you see Bitam and all of them saying, let me boycott the Syrians. That ended in 2 days. They went back and started shopping there.
All right, well, let's leave it there for the time being, my friend. Let's leave it there, because I realize you're again very passionate about your contribution here. Now, I would have said this morning that on social media, some people have a tendency to be a bit too reckless. And when you put thoughts to words, remember, this goes viral. And you need to take into consideration there will be repercussions, especially if you are operating from a position of, let's say, advantage. That is to say, if you're operating from a business, there will be repercussions. And there are consequences for people's action. And this is one of the consequences. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Kendrick.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Calling from San Fernando.
Good morning, San Fernando. And how are you?
I'm good.
What's on your mind?
I'm calling to congratulate the singer of that Calypso just now.
All right, you're talking about 13-year-old Trishana Sukhdev, yeah.
Right, yes. Because it's one of the most popular calypso right now on the other radio station by the original singer.
Well, I usually play the original song by Merchant. Yes.
Merchant.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the most popular calypsos right
now. Well, it's a nation-building song indeed. And at this time, you really do need messages of a nation-building. You would agree with me?
Right, yes. So that's why I'll congratulate the singer for doing it over and doing such a good job on it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's take another call.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kenrick.
Hi, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
All right. I'm sorry, my friend, but something went wrong there with our call this morning. You can call me back, and I'll continue with our discussion. Yes, call me back at 636-7547 227-5739. Hello, good morning. Welcome to 975. Good morning.
Morning again, Mr. Kenrick.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Something went wrong there. That's all right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Good to be in the land of the living of Trinidad.
Yeah, boy.
I would like to start by yesterday. Some of your callers, I think one is also a microbiologist. I don't get tired between you and the next one. Or penal. Can't remember. I'm thinking probably penal. The argument, and a lot of their callers' argument was sometime yesterday that they had a popular vote.
That's not true. That's not true according to the preliminary results as published by the EBC.
I hope this morning that they haven't gotten a heart attack by spreading those rumors. And listen to Miss Madras, because I just tuned in, and listen to Miss Madras ending, and you have to cut off that Massey Stores is a supporter of the PLM.
Well, I don't know that, I don't know that.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Imagine, she's not disannouncing what the young lady said. She's not taking apart and say, we distance ourselves, and this is where the racism goes along. So, she is telling a group of people that what this young lady said, nothing is wrong with that. Like what she telling me, So she's inciting and encouraging this thing to go along. People slow down. When I look at Facebook, I can't believe this is the problem. So if UNC had won, I might have to pack up my boat and go back to St. Vincent from Penton. Because if this is your reaction as you lose, to tell Tribigonians, what would you have done to us? People slow down,
No, but hold on. I remember some time back that I think it was about a young Afro-Trinidadian woman would have made certain statements on Facebook, and the bloggers would have taken issue with her, and she had to apologize. You understand? So it happens. It happens in, if you want to say it, in both camps. Let me use it with both camps.
This one is going along because you lose an election. So then you're not patriots. There's only an election. You ain't lose the life. You ain't lose money. Come on. What have you lost? Power over what? If your government tells you over African people, but it's the same African people that have voted for the same government to get you there. So it can't be over me. We are all black.
So in essence, you're calling for let good sense prevail and stop fanning the flames of racism.
That's what they are doing. Yeah. I don't think they want to start that.
All right, friend. I hear you.
Yeah,
thank you very much for your contribution here with me this morning. But look, you see, whenever there's an election, any sort of election in this country, we have this matter of ethnicity coming to the fore. Hence the reason why I don't even look at social media. Yeah, people say all sort of nonsense without any sort of evidence. Like this morning I reading on Facebook there where it has been said that the UNC won the popular votes, not according to the Election and Boundaries Commission. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Morning, Ken.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, the lady who called before and she was making a contribution. The fact is, whether or not we like it, that is how the economic system is. And the fact is, yes, certain things that cannot be condoned, certain things that would be said should not be condoned. Just like when Mr. Roche made the statement, Matt came out and a couple other people. I didn't hear the conglomerate say anything, but there wasn't any big protest or whatever. But the fact is, whatever is said, people have to be more responsible. I just call to tell you, yes, I do agree with what you say. I also want to tell you, Lee, she has to understand the economic culture of Trinidad. It's three countries. It's Trinidad, Tobago, and Westmoreland. And from the time people understand that a bit earlier, and they understand the factors of production, and who control the factors of production, and that is how it is, then we're going to be able to understand the society better. Thank you.
No, well, I agree with you, and not to a sense, you have what you call, there's a monopoly in this country. A monopoly where certain companies monopolize the market in certain areas. I'm not going to get into specific of that, but let's take this call on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Kendrick, I want to say something quickly.
Yeah, quickly,
and I
ma'am.
wouldn't take long. Thank you very much for making that last comment. It's a monopoly and it's a marketing opportunity.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if Peanut Punch come out by another company now. Because that's a big seller, Big seller. Peanut Punch, Soursop, all those drinks. Natural, organic, healthy drinks. Some of it has sugar. But what I was going to say is this. I don't that woman who wrote that comment was horrible. But I've read worse comments on the internet, seriously. And what you kind of just say, you ignore it because you think those people are very inept. But what should Ramsaran company do to appease the Supermarket Association? Should they run diversity training program, cultural sensitivity program, how to like people, relations? Then everybody needs to do that. Massey needs to do that too.
Well, the company would have distanced itself from the comments of the young lady, and they would have extended an apology, and they would have taken disciplinary action, and we leave it there. But if it's a continuous thing, well then, further actions can be taken.
You see, we don't have a lot of very small companies, local companies that grew from grassroots and made it in the big business. We don't have that. It's very rare.
So, are you saying, my dear, that there's something sinister here? There's an orchestrated plot?
I do. I think it's economic. I think we are going through tough times, and there are companies, juice companies out there, and canning companies out there that want to get their ins. And Ramsaran has a very strong history with loyalty for customers, and they do create a lot of jobs in the Indian community too, because I know they do recruit heavily, and they give a lot of our people jobs. Just like Massey gives a lot of their people jobs. Look at the population that works at Massey.
But the supermarket. What's your take on the Supermarket Association?
I think the Supermarket
taking
Association, I think they should come up with a plan on diversity and cultural sensitivity and work with all the supermarkets. The Supermarket Association have the worst consumer controls. They will allow supermarkets to sell stale cheese, and they will go and feed and walk out. So let us not hold them to high esteem, Let me tell you something. They need to come up with guidelines themselves, because they themselves is rotten to the core. Thanks.
Okay, my dear. Well, thank you very much for your contribution here with me this morning. I deliberately left that story out of my discussion here this morning, Let me take another call on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Kenrick.
Hi, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Okay, how you going, man? But I was tuning on other station. I wasn't even aware of this but I don't be on Facebook, So I wasn't even aware of this big thing taking place across the country, this Facebook give and take and so on. And I run through the garden this morning, and I saw, I think on the 3 or 4th page, a lawyer guy, he said somewhere in England, I'll try to do some research on it, where they have a law concerning people putting out any defamatory posts on Facebook now, especially when it has any racial overturn and so on. And he thinks it's trend that should have done. But and I think I agree with him there, because whatever thought I have in my mind, Mr. Kenrick, there are things I can say openly, and there are things you and I can say down.
But let me ask you a question. What crime did the young woman commit?
Did what?
What crime did the young woman commit?
But at the end of the day, she said some facts that offend people. No, the fact can offend me,
No, it's not facts. It's an opinion she shared.
Yeah, but what I think it is on the wider public, and I think once whatever statement they make nationally, once it tends to be offensive, and you got to be careful with your words, right? Because we live in a society where people have different views and different perceptions and things. At the end of the day, whatever perception, whatever comment you make, you will pay for it in some way, in terms of really relation to people.
All right,
that's how I look at it.
Hold on. But listen to what the Supermarket Association is saying. The Supermarket Association is saying that until such time that the company seeks the appropriate remedial action in a consistent and satisfactory manner. In essence, this company now must satisfy the Supermarket Association and by extension other stakeholders before their product can be showcased in various supermarkets. To me, that's taking it a bit too far. The company would have apologized. The woman would have, or the individual in question would have been disciplined. And let's move on from there. If they did not take action, if they did not take disciplinary action, and did not offer an apology, well, then we could have taken serious issue with it. Let's take another call on the line. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 97.5. Good morning.
But what barometer the supermarket is going to use to assess this situation?
Well, rightly so. What about the offensive statement Ansel Roger would have made?
Right. So what rationale are they going to use there now?
And would have attracted the wrath of certain people. Are we going to say that we should boycott the OWTU?
Yeah. Because this woman, she had touched her business, because she was not touched her business now. And what way would have been able to affect her?
Mm-hmm.
So you see, the rationale is kind of like not really an even based, but that's just my view. Other people can share their views and have different opinions.
All right, well, let me close this period with this thought. The woman expressed a view. Did she express a view? Is that view, let's say, endorsed by the company? The fact that she expressed an opinion, not facts, an opinion. So are we saying that as an individual we do not have an opinion? But mind you, whatever opinion you may want to express, especially when you go on social media, there will always be repercussions. And that's the point I'm making. There will always be repercussion. One must also take into consideration there are consequences for people's action. There are always consequences. Anyway, up next is my feature with Nirvan Maraj, the President General of the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union. We're going to take that interview just in about 5 minutes. But first, let me go to some commercials here this morning.
Visit Eddie's Pharmacies Limited newest location inside JTA Supermarket, C3 Center, Current Village, San Fernando. They offer blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol and pregnancy testing, as well as all pharmaceutical products and over-the-counter drugs, along with CDAP prescriptions. Sagicor Caricare International Medical Card, Guardian Life Provider Card and Republic Bank points are all accepted at their 3 locations of Eddie's Pharmacy Limited. RS Building, Rocha Douglas Road, Barrackpore, GN Building in Pinal, and C3 Center, Current Village, San Fernando.
This is Samaru Ramru inviting you on a journey down memory lane with enchanting songs on the program Nightline, Mondays to Thursdays, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. Let your heart sing along with the music on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Let's talk Guyana. Join me, Umaratan Singh, as I bring you news, updates, information, culture and traditions of Guyana. Let's talk Guyana, Mondays to Thursdays, just after the 10 a.m. news headlines on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio.
Yes, indeed, and welcome back to 97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper. We're moving up to the hour of 8 o'clock. It's just about 18 minutes here to the hour of 8, and that time check came to you through the kind courtesy of a radio 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper. Well, with me in the studio this morning is the President General of the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union. And note that Mr. Nirvan Maharaj would have been part of our panel discussion on Monday night. And from all reports, based on the feedback I would have gotten from you, the listening audience, he came across as one who would have understood or appreciate the what is happening in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, and he would have made a certain pronouncement. But from very early in the game, very earlier, I'm talking about 3 weeks ago, Mr. Maharaj would have said that the People's National Movement would win the 2020 general election. Note that we have a recount in 5 constituencies, and Watson Duke would have conceded defeat in Tobago. And based on the preliminary results coming from the Election and Boundaries Commission, the People's National Movement would have won the popular vote. I have the figures in front of me, and I will share it with you in a bit. But first, let me say a very special good morning to Mr. Maharaj here this morning, observing social distancing. And if you can look at us live on YouTube, on Facebook, you'll see that Mr. Maharaj, we have our distance apart, and Mr. Maharaj is, adhering to all of the guidelines. Good morning, Mr. Maharaj.
Good morning, Ken, and of course, a pleasant good morning to the listeners, as well as those who are viewing it on Facebook.
Well, indeed. Now, 3 weeks ago, you would have called the election for the People's National Movement. You would have looked at the politics of the day. You would have made your various analysis and what have you. What would have prompted you, Mr. Maharaj, to make that call so early in the game?
Well, Ken, I think I called it a bit earlier than 3 weeks ago. In fact, I think a few months ago when we were speaking, I told you that there was one fundamental difference between the People's National Movement and the UNC at this particular point in time. And if you remember correctly, I told you once that the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, was not speaking to his base whenever he spoke to the country. He was actually speaking to what could be termed the middle ground and trying to convince through logic and rationale and objectivity, factual statements, trying to convince those individuals who he believed could have swayed an election. And I think I told you about 3 weeks ago also that this election came down to emotion versus logic and rationale. But the logic and rationale was actually pinpointed to a specific group within the society. And if within a global economic crisis, a COVID-19 pandemic, plummeting oil and natural gas prices, massive retrenchment, a rising crime rate, the opposition was unable to excite the imagination of the public to come out and sweep away the PNM at the polls, then something has gone fundamentally wrong. And when you look at it, as I said before, the Prime Minister of the country kept consistent with his messages of facts and logic to a particular segment of the population, and I believe that worked for him, Ken.
Yeah, but when you look at the map of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Maharaj, you talked about emotion, and Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley would have campaigned on issues and reaching out to the undecided. It is apparent to me that this country is still divided along ethnic lines.
No, but certainly, and I think you missed the point. What I'm talking about is the logic and rationale that was geared towards a specific group within the country. And as I said before, Keith Rowley never spoke to his base in the early months from December last year. If you noticed all the addresses to the nation, it was focused on a lot of facts, logic, and rationale. I am not talking about the 40% on either side. I'm talking to one specific group of people. And if you could remember correctly, last year, December, I think it was, or early January, I told you that the Prime Minister was not speaking to his base. He was speaking to a particular segment of the population. And I also told you what the opposition had to realize is that when you speak, you are not speaking in a Monday night forum. There's no need for the tooting of horns and the breaking of glass and the sound effects. what you have to understand is when you speak to the national public, be it in the media, social media and or the mainstream media, through a Monday Night Forum, for example, you should not be speaking to the converted. You have to understand you are speaking to Hindus, Muslims, Anglicans, Roman Catholics, Presbyterians. You are speaking to white, French Creole, colored, Syrians, East Indians, persons of African descent. You are speaking to the national public. You are speaking to the 200 voters in Cora Valley in Tunapuna. You are speaking to the 600 voters in Grand Riviere or Matlot in Toko. You are not only speaking to the individuals that reside within Central Trinidad or who you perceive to be your base. And I think that was one of the fundamental mistakes of the UNC. Like I say, I'm not here to condemn or criticize anyone. I'm here simply to express my point of view, as I always does. I also think to a very large extent the inability to take decisive action and the inability to take a stand on major issues would have been a problem for the UNC, not among the base on either side, but among, as I said, those persons the Prime Minister was attempting to appeal to. For example, when you abstain on the vote for a Commissioner of Police and you don't say yea or nay, that shows weakness on your part. It shows that you are technically saying nay, but afraid to say nay. When you consistently oppose all the financial bills that are brought to the Parliament, when you consistently use theory and assumption and speculation to oppose, let's say, the Bill Amendment Bill or the Firearms Act, for example, yes, you may have your reasons, but unless you are able to explain those reasons in a logical and factual manner, and not just through emotion, or the police could use it against an innocent citizen, without understanding that you need, when you appeal to a certain segment of the population, it is not a question of emotion. And that is where I think the PNM took the edge not 3 weeks ago. As I told you before, I think it was in December, I told you the PNM will win the next general elections. And these are some of the reasons why I saw it as I did.
Is it a question of leadership that the majority of the voting population, 58% would have voted in this election, according to the EBC. Is it that the voting population would have seen Dr. Keith Rowley as a better leader in terms of this crisis which we are currently facing, economic, social problems, this matter of COVID-19 in terms of leadership?
When you use the term population, I'm not focusing on the population per se. The voting bloc is divided almost equally in terms of the base, but there is a certain number of voters, and that is the one who I believe he would have come across as being a strong leader in terms of the COVID-19, taking decisions that were unpopular. I think his foreign policy ideology on Venezuela was I have always told you that is one thing about the PNM, having a consistent foreign policy ideology when it came to intervention in the sovereignty of other nations. As they would have stood with Cuba, they stood with Grenada, they have stood with Venezuela, and they have abided by and adhered to the concepts of the United Nations and CARICOM and the views of these international bodies, rather than an individual country as the United States. I thought that the handling of the COVID-19 was excellent. I've always told you that. And I think the holding on to the exemptions and giving exemptions as they did also worked to their favor, not necessarily for the bases, but that certain segment of the population that looked towards logic and rational.
Is it a hollow victory for the United National Congress? And I'm talking in terms of moving the number of seats from 18 to 19, having won the Moruga Tableland seat.
Well, I won't say it's a hollow victory. A victory is a victory. What I will say is I don't understand. Now, though you may have the legal right to recount, and I support your right to call for a recount, that's fine. But if you look at the figures, in some of these seats that are being recounted, there are some seats which the UNC won, where the margin is even closer than some of the seats that they have asked for recounting. I think a Pointe-a-Pierre, Chaguanas East, San Juan Barataria, I think you won by 1,086, I think. another 1,068. The preliminary figures I looked at point up here by about 1,500 and something, if I can remember correctly. So what you're saying is that recounts could have been called in all these seats by either of the political parties. I don't have a problem with the recounts. It's your legal right, but there are times when you have to use some rational and logic as well. And I think Mr. Duke, for example, in Tobago, losing by 800 votes, I think even he must have realized that the recount was basically useless at this juncture.
Well, according to a story as published in today's edition of one of the daily newspaper, the PNM would have received 13,000 more votes than the UNC, contrary to what the party would have said. And these are only preliminary results coming from the Election and Boundaries Commission. The voter turnout was 58.4%, something which we would have discussed on Monday night. And we did indicate that if it's about 65% of the voter turnout, well, it could work in the favor of the United National Congress. Why this low voter turnout?
Well, it's not a question of being a low voter turnout. Well, I don't know whether COVID-19 and these factors would have played a part. But as I said before, if during I don't think there's any prime minister in this country who would have faced some of the adverse conditions, and I'm speaking objectively here. I'm not speaking either on a PNM platform or United National Congress platform or even NSA. I'm just simply talking as a citizen. I don't think there's any prime minister who would have faced some of the adverse conditions that Keith Rowley did, in terms of the economic recession, global crisis, the low energy prices, for example, and then being hit with COVID-19. The high murder rate, for example, the fact the loss of 5,000 workers in Petrotrin, the retrenchment throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad, not only in the government sectors, on persons on contract, but in private sector as well. And if the United National Congress was unable to excite the imagination of the public and bring the public out to vote against a government that would have been deemed by many to have unleashed harsh measures on this country. If you are talking about lower taxes and you are talking about a revival of Petrotrin and a revival of the agricultural sector through Caroni and what have you, and you are unable to excite the imagination of the public to come out, then I think the party has to take a look at itself and maybe redefine itself in a particular way. One of the things very objectively, I would say, I believe happened also is that the selection of candidates may have worked against the party. I'm not saying anything against the particular individual candidates, but what I'm saying, there were many candidates chosen who are probably unknown to even the United National Congress supporters as well. At the end of the day, even if you put a national figure in a safe seat, let's say, that national figure could help to pull votes from other seats as well. I think to a very large extent some fundamental mistakes were made, and I think the UNC paid for that.
No, but you talk about the selection of candidates, but when you look at the seats won by the United National Congress, most of these candidates would be new faces to the electorate.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the safe seats in the UNC. I'm talking about seats that could be deemed marginal, except for Moruga Tableland, where I think there was a reaction against the choice of Gypsy. I think to a very large extent, candidates in safe seats can also help to influence the voters in other areas as well, which you may deem marginal. And if your candidates in these safe seats are unable to excite the imagination of the public, look at the PNM, for example. The PNM put Keith Scotland in Port of Spain South, I think it was. And Keith Scotland is a national figure. At the end of the day, he's deemed to be, and it's a safe seat. He wasn't placed in a marginal, let's say. But I'm sure that particular figure of that national concept would have assisted the PNM. And I think that is one of the mistakes the UNC made as well in terms of the choice of candidates. And I'm not condemning individual candidates. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what the ordinary man on the street or the logical voter, that small group, may use to change their minds about the individual parties and how they could run the country.
But the voter pattern remains the same, Mr. Maraj.
It has not changed at all, no.
Yeah.
Has not changed.
What would you attribute to that?
Our historical dynamics, and it won't change for a very long time, if ever at all, as long as we continue along the pathway that we are going. And once we have the Westminster-style system of government, it will continue as it is. When you have two large populations, as we do in Trinidad and Tobago, of two large different racial and ethnic makeup, then certainly there will always be that perceived battle for the pie and that perceived battle for power, and that perceived battle between them and us, as people use the term. That has to change, and the only way that could change is perhaps through constitutional reform, where people not only would not think that their votes are wasted, but where you may get a greater participation from the public as well, the voting population, where they believe that even if they don't get a majority, or even come second or third, even if you come fourth, depending on the number of votes you get, you could still have a seat in parliament to articulate the views of an individual interest or a group interest. So maybe, just maybe, we are going to have to look at that constitutional reform, but I don't see it happening as well.
Mr. Maraj, we're heading up to the 8 o'clock newscast, but I want you to mull on this a bit, and we're going to discuss this after the 8 o'clock newscast. Very early in the game, I would have coined a term called political insurance when the United National Congress would have announced their candidates. I spoke about the opposition leader surrounding herself with party faithfuls. So if anything untoward happen, if the election result does not go in her favor, it will be very difficult indeed to unseat her. And that is happening today, because this morning we are hearing that the 18 MPs elect have thrown their support behind Kamla Persad-Bissessar. I want you to think about that.
Sure.
When you come back, share your thoughts with me.
Sure.
Stay with us here, 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper. We up to the 8 o'clock newscast with Umar Ratan Singh. Stay with us here, 975.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 975 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, multicultural radio.
Power to the listeners.
It is now time for Major News to the Hour, brought to you by Crystal Beverages Company, Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Elisha Limited, and the Trinidad and Tobago News Day.
This is the ATM News on U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. I am Umaratan saying good morning. Political leaders are claiming a drastic decline in voter turnout this year compared to previous years. The claim comes from the People's National Movement and United National Congress that votes in safe seats dropped in Monday's general election, including the seats held by PNM leader Dr. Keith Rowley and UNC leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar. This was revealed by the Elections and Boundaries Commission in a comparison to 2015 general election results and the preliminary results on Monday's general election. In 2015, Rowley got 12,855 votes, competing against 5 opponents in the Diego Martin West constituency. And in 2020, he got 10,791 on Monday against 3 opponents. UNC votes down, as in 2015, UNC leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar won superior with 14,896 votes to PNM's Vidya Devkisingh's 4,715. And in 2020, Persad-Bissessar's votes dropped to 13,487 against PNM's 3,855. Sanitization continues in Tobago as the Immigration Division office at the Port Authority complex in Scarborough will be closed for sanitization until further notice. The advice came from the National Security Ministry on Wednesday night that Immigration Enforcement Unit staff members housed at the office have been identified as part of a contact trace investigation for the novel coronavirus. As a precautionary measure, the ministry said all employees attached to that office have been quarantined. However, on Wednesday, 26 new infections were reported in Trinidad and Tobago, bringing the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases to 316. An 18-year-old Marabella female who was last seen by her mother on Friday has gone missing. Princess Phillips left her family home to visit a friend in the same area on Friday and was never seen or heard from again. However, prior to her disappearance, Princess told her parents that she was being followed by a group of men while on her way home. The matter has been reported to the police. As the spread of COVID-19 continues to spiral, prisoners are making masks in the tailoring department of the prison service in Trinidad. Over 1,000 masks were made by prisoners over a 2-day period. According to Commissioner of Prison, prisoners have been working around the clock to provide all officers and prisoners with masks. He also said that if the pace continues, they will be able to combine the masks made at the prison with those which are donated to meet the objective by the end of the week. And on to the weather forecast for this morning. Trinidad and Tobago will be generally sunny with brief showery interruptions in a few areas. Night will be mostly clear. Seas will be slight to moderate with waves 2.5 meters in open waters and less than 1 meter in sheltered areas. The current temperature is 30 degrees Celsius and expected to reach a high of 32 degrees Celsius as the day progresses. And that brings us to the end of the 8 a.m. news. Join us at 10 a.m. for news update. I am Irma Ratten Singh wishing you a good morning.
That was Major News to the Hour, brought to you by Crystal Beverages Company, Super Quality Supermarket, Sheikh Leisha Limited, and the Trinidad and Tobago News Day.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited of 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo for all your hardware materials from foundation to finish. Not forgetting all your general contracting needs. We have it all at A&S Hardware and the General Contractors Limited, located at 107 Bonaventure Road in Gasparillo. Just call Tiki Ali at 650-2180.
A&S Hardware are wholesalers and retailers of plywood, an assortment of lumber, galvanized pipe, hollow section, and steel. Customers can enjoy special prices on white pine and pitch pine doors.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Only the people can save the people. This is the mantra of the National Solidarity Assembly. Join its political leader and president of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Nirvan Maharaj, as he invites you to join these organizations and other top executives on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper for 2 one-hour monthly features as they discuss the concerns and challenges facing the working class of this country, tackling the issues, generating bold talk, finding solutions, bringing the workers' agenda to the front burner, and providing a new vehicle. That's the NSA's mission. Be part of this informative panel discussion with operatives from the NSA. Only happening here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
Yes, indeed, and welcome back to 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. It is about 9 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. Time check, courtesy radio on 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. I'm sure in the studio this morning with the President General of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Mr. Nirvan Maharaj, as we continue to analyze the election of 2020, the results of that 2020 election. Note that the Election and Boundaries Commission, in their preliminary results, would have said that the People's National Movement would have won the popular vote, contrary to the claims being made by the United National Congress. Now that the dust has cleared, the PNM has won the election 22-19. There are political analysts outside there, even former members of parliament and other observers, political commentators who are calling for the removal of Kamla Persad-Bissessar going forward. But Persad-Bissessar would have said that she's not prepared to step down at this time. In the meantime, all 18 winning candidates would have demonstrated or indicated their support for Kamla Persad-Bissessar as political leader of the party. Now, before I went to the 8 o'clock newscast, I spoke to Mr. Maharaj this morning, and I wanted to get his thoughts on this term I use, political insurance. Your thoughts, Mr. Maharaj?
Well, I think it's a valid term, Ken. And what you are saying, may be totally correct, actually. And that is not to put blame on the leader of any party. The leader of any party will always seek to have people around them who would support them through thick and thin, who would support them against all odds. And in politics, as you know, Ken, loyalty beats competence any day. And certainly if the leader of the opposition would have placed persons in seats that she believed that in the event of a loss, they would continue to support her, then certainly I have no problem with that. That is her prerogative as the leader of the party.
But that is cementing oneself into office as opposed to what is the best interest of the party itself, yes?
Well, all leaders would do that, I guess. At the end of the day, I have heard Dr. Rowley say this is his last term. Mm-hmm. We'll wait and see what transpires with that. I don't know, maybe if we should have, at the level of prime ministership, for example, whether we should have a two-term prime minister as they do in other jurisdictions. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the opposition leader did what she had to do. She would have taken her chances. Things did not work out as she would have expected, I gather. And it is up to the opposition leader, the members of parliament, and the members of the United National Congress to chart a way forward for the party. And it is up to those members of the party to decide, what is the next step.
All right. Let me provoke you and the listening audience here this morning. Is it a show of a lack of political maturity? I say that to you because throw your mind back to some time ago, and it was aired last night in one of the television newscasts, where Kamla Prasad Bisesa would have reminded the audience that Basdev Pandey would have lost 4 elections, and the party cannot go forward nor see the corridors of power, given his track record. The same can now be said of her. I just want to get your thoughts
Yeah,
on that.
it could be said of her, yes. I mean, in the highest traditions of the Westminster-style system of government, the highest traditions which has never really been implemented in Trinidad. I mean, we have seen leaders lose elections consistently and remain in their positions. You had a Prime Minister of England who lost a referendum and he resigned based on that referendum, that Brexit referendum. The point is, my own personal views, I believe that the UNC needs to chart a new direction. The questions would be asked, if not Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who? And of course the members of the party and other parliamentarians will have to answer that. And who, with amongst those who would have a seat in parliament for the next 5 years, would be willing to step forward and perhaps chart a new direction for the party. I can't answer that question. They would have to answer that question. What I may say, not being flippant or anything, I'm beginning to notice that ever since the United National Congress left UNC complex, they seem to have lost every election after UNC complex. I don't know if I'm correct or not. That seems to be my observation.
That's an observation. But
that's being flippant.
Yeah, but on another note, when you look at the composition of the United National Congress, 19 members of parliament, take away Dr. Rudal Munilal and also Anita Haynes, 2 people who are being viewed as a possible leaders of the party. It's very hollow indeed, yeah?
It is in terms of persons with the experience and the knowledge. And if you are asking me for my personal point of view, I'll give you my personal point of view. I have never been afraid of doing that. On election night when I left here, I told you on the other panels that the PNM will win.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some individuals doubted it who were here. The fact is, I think Anita Haynes is young, inexperienced. To a very large extent, when she speaks from a very theoretical perspective. Not practical politics. I think she's still at the stage of being in bright-eyed and starry-eyed about the whole political scenario. If I had to say that if there's anyone who could probably lead the party and consolidate the base at this point in time, in the absence of Mrs. Bisesa, I'm not saying that Mrs. Bisesa has to go.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me a question and I'm answering it. The only person I could see at this point in time is Dr. Rudal Munilal. Whatever his the perception of the man may be in terms of the national population, when it comes to the UNC, based on the consolidation of the base, I think he's the only one at this point in time who, within Parliament that is, who may very well would have to step up if that time should ever come and lead the party. At the end of the day, also in terms of Parliament, whether you like it or not, Prime Minister Keith Rowley, Colman Burt, Stuart Young, and Faris Alwar Rawi, when you hear them in Parliament, I think Rudal Munilal at this point in time in Parliament may be the only person who could counter the type of debates that could emerge from these 4 individuals. And certainly Rudal would be the one if I had to make a call at this point in time.
All right, let's just shift gears here, so to speak.
No, I'm not making a call. I'm simply giving my point of view.
I understand your train of thought. Let's shift focus here a bit, Mr. Maraj. The population have been crying out for change. The population, to some extent, would have debated whether there should be a new vehicle to move the country forward. A number of independent candidates would have thrown their hat into the ring. A number of parties would have thrown their hat into the ring. I can identify the PEP, the Movement for Social Justice, and the COP. What would you say are some of the reasons for the poor showing of these quote-unquote smaller parties?
If you look at the history of the country, no third force has ever won an election unless you had one of the incumbent political parties as the major part of what you may deem that third force. So COP in 2007 with 150,000 votes. Jack Warner got a good bit of votes as well with the ILP. The ONR with 100,000 votes, unable to acquire seats. The historical dynamics, as I always say, the geopolitical makeup of the country, as well as the historical dynamics of the race factor, always seem to triumph, and I think it will continue to triumph. The only time you may see another party there to counter the PNM, and if you notice, the PNM has always been the constant in elections since the 1950s. It is always the PNM against somebody or somebody against the PNM.
PNM against the rest.
It is never two parties battling down on the PNM on the sideline. And once you understand that that constant is there as a result of proper structures in place, as an organization where individuals are not the ones basically to circumvent the structures of the party, then you understand what is needed perhaps within the opposition parties. Third parties, I have never been against third parties, as you know. I think it's very important for anyone who wishes to take part in the electoral process to do so. But you must understand, when you do so, you must not be starry-eyed, and you must not exist within a world of illusions or even delusion. You must understand fully what you are dealing with. If you are there, as we did in the NSA, to articulate a point of view of a group of people, even from a national perspective, then you do that. But don't think you are going to go into the elections, especially in a geopolitical electoral system like Trinidad, and think as a third party you are going to sweep away the PNM and now the UNC. No, you won't.
You would have journeyed to Tobago on a number of occasions.
Yes.
And you describe Watson Duke as a colleague of yours. How do you respond to Duke not really grasping or getting the necessary votes in the last election?
Well, I think he did very well compared to 2015. He would have increased his vote count. And I know, if I know Watson will be looking towards the THA elections of January 2020.
Well, he did indicate such.
To continue his progress within the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. I think he must be commended because he have singularly wiped out
Kristen
Moore, sorry. He have wiped out Hochard Charles and Tobago forwards, Ashwood Jack, all these persons. So Duke has basically replaced these individuals as the main opposition in Tobago. So I think it was he would have lost his seat, but technically he would have gained ground. And I know he's looking towards the future, and I expect him to do very well in Tobago later on. I think one of the problems, talking about the opposition, because technically Duke was the opposition to the PNM also, is that the United National Congress, I think, has to find a way to field candidates in Tobago as well, throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago, in order to really give that perception of a truly national party. Yes, Tobago may be 2 seats, but it's also an island unto itself. It is part of the Trinidad and Tobago Federation, if you want to use those terms. So you can't only fight in Trinidad and hopes that somebody would win in Tobago and join with you if it comes to that. No. You are a national party, and I think Basil Pandey did an excellent job in actually forming the United National Congress into an institution like the PNM. Well, not the same, but almost like the PNM, where people are willing to go out there blindly and vote for 3 letters rather than voting for individuals or voting for policy. So he would have done a good job at that, and I think the onus now is on the UNC to also look at Tobago as being part of the national community and ensure that they put candidates in Tobago as well.
In the wake of the preliminary results coming from the Election and Boundaries Commission, and the fact that smaller parties would have not been able to capture the imagination of the electorate, are you surprised that people like Jack Warner, Caroline Sipasad Bichan, Philip Alexander, and Steve Alvarez have now decided to turn their back on electoral politics?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it's the logical thing to do at this point in time. If you are a third force or a third party, and you are going into the elections thinking that you could overcome history, then you are wrong. You can't. If you are a third party going into the elections to articulate an alternative point of view, to give a choice to those who don't wish to vote for the UNC or the PNM or the incumbents, then certainly you can continue. But anytime you go as a small party and think you are going to overturn the electoral process, it is best you walk away. You can't. And I say that with a sense of sadness. I say that with a sense of fear for my country. When I look at the trends and how we are going, we are becoming even more polarized to a very large extent. When we should be Trinidad and Tobago, one people, one nation under God and country, We seem to be a nation, a UNC nation and a PNM nation and a Westmoreland nation and several nations within one nation, and it doesn't augur well. I think the United National Congress has to find its way, and the only way it could do that is to really sit down and be honest among themselves. Do we want to hold on to a seat in Parliament until we die and be content with opposition? Once I know I collecting my $17,000 a month and the $40,000 or $50,000 to run my office, and I can drive in a black Prado, and everybody will say, look, the member of Parliament for Couva North or the member of Parliament for Puchis, look, he's going there. If you are content with that, fine. But you know, I always say, when you enter the doors of Parliament and you have the chance to serve your country at the highest level, I've never had that chance, I'm not saying, to serve your country at the highest level, one would expect that within you would arise a fire that is burning to do the best you can for the nation that is Trinidad and Tobago. And the only way you could do that is to gain power, so that you could implement the policies you wish. Because you could talk all the policies in the world and condemn and criticize and say the government is not doing this or it's doing that. But unless you sit down and you strive to attain that power within Parliament, then certainly you are just taking up a seat in Parliament. And I would hope the party would sit down and really reconsider its place in Trinidad and Tobago, what it represents, the hope that it represents to thousands of people as well, who faithfully give you their vote every 5 years, and redefine and restructure itself and give it the best shot in 2025.
So what's the answer to the problems that Trinidad and Tobago facing in terms of representation? What is the answer? You talk about proportional representation, you talk about electoral reform and so on.
There's no answer in the sense of by the wave of a magic wand and the snap of a finger things will change. It won't overnight. It will take many years, generations probably, lifetimes, to change the whole concept of the historical dynamic. But I do believe that maybe, just maybe, we may have to start with the concept of proportional representation, whereby third and fourth and fifth place parties, if you want to use the term party, could also find their voice in Parliament as well.
Based on a percentage of the votes, yes?
Based on a percentage of the votes, so that at least you will have a greater airing within Parliament of the views of the population as a whole.
Going forward, Mr. Maraj, what do you see in the immediate some of the challenges facing the Dr. Keith Rowley administration?
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic certainly revitalizing and re-energizing the economy, especially in a continuing global crisis where one of the largest players in the world economy, the United States, is also reeling under a COVID pandemic, where India is almost 2.5 million, where Africa is being swept away by the COVID-19, where even in Latin America, people are dying like flies, if you want to use those terms, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. That is, so the economy and the COVID-19 will be major factors. The crime situation and, for example, murders will continue to rise. And while you have dire economic straits, you would certainly might see an increase in the crime. So some of these are some of the factors. Also, very importantly, the ability of the government and the Prime Minister to continue to raise money or find money to hold on to a public service of our size, especially in what is happening with the world, is something I'm looking at very carefully with regard to continuing retrenchment within Trinidad and Tobago. And it's not the fault of the government per se. It is simply an effect of the external circumstances that we face within the world as a whole.
Well, the population too, and this should be a matter close to your heart, the population too is waiting to see what decisions will be made concerning the Petrotrin refinery. What do you see?
Well, it's very difficult to say. The last thing I heard the Prime Minister say was that the negotiations are continuing and that the OWTU has to provide certain things. to the team that has been set up, the committee, to conduct the negotiation. So I wait and see, just like you and everybody else. I don't have the intimate details, and I'm not a psychic really to predict that. No, I won't.
Well, it's a matter which would have been articulated on the platform. Anyway, we need to take a very short commercial break at this time. When we come back, we'll wrap up our discussion here with Mr. Nirvan Maraj, the President General of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union. Stay with us here, 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper.
Only the people can save the people. This is the mantra of the National Solidarity Assembly. Join its political leader and president of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Nirvan Maharaj, as he invites you to join these organizations and other top executives on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper for 2 one-hour monthly features as they discuss the concerns and challenges facing the working class of this country, tackling the issues, generating bold talk, finding solutions, bringing the workers' agenda to the front burner, and providing a new vehicle. That's the NSA's mission. Be part of this informative panel discussion with operatives from the NSA. Only happening here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
Mr. Maharaj, as we wrap up this interview with you here this morning, and no doubt you'll be back next week on next week Friday, as we continue to you look at the issues of the day. You lead a political party, the National Solidarity Assembly, and no doubt you would have indicated very early in the game that the NSA will not be contesting any seat in the last general election, given, of course, certain challenges. The future, the role of the NSA in the scheme of things, in the political landscape, the future of the NSA. The NSA still remains the political arm of the trade union. But in terms of the politics of the day, the future of the NSA, does it still exist as a political entity?
It exists. It is the political arm of the union. And as you are fully aware, Ken, politics is not only about electoral politics, it's about education as well. Mm-hmm. And the NSA will continue to do what we have to do very quietly, having meetings and cottage meetings, speaking to individuals and educating them about the politics of this country. I could show you my phone, actually, and several of the texts that I would have received from young people, many of whom I would have taught as a teacher at Hillview College, who have asked me, what are we going to do? And some of them are even asking for a meeting to plan a way forward, because many of these young people are really fed up of the type of politics, and they are more aware of what happens worldwide. And they are very fed up of the type of politics we have in Trinidad and Tobago. So I will be holding a meeting in about 3 weeks' time with several of the individuals who would have texted me from different spheres of life. And we'll continue to educate as best as we can about the politics of this country, about nationalism and patriotism, and understanding that we all came to this country for one purpose, through the plantation system. And at the end of the day, whatever your race or color may be, we are still one people, one nation under God. And that is how we have to look at it. Otherwise, we will fall into that abyss of no return, Ken.
One point before you make your exit out of the studio this morning, Mr. Maraj. Clarence Rambarat, the current Minister of Agriculture, on the campaign trail, would have spoken about the issues affecting ex-Caroni workers, and he would have said that the PNM would look at these issues facing this group of people. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, too, in her manifesto, the UNC manifesto, outlined, too, that the party, when it gets into power, if it gets into power, well, that's not into the equation now, would look at addressing all of these issues facing ex-Caroni workers. Your thoughts on that? Because it would appear to me that these politicians would have turned their backs on ex-Caroni workers and would have not bring this matter to the fore, except yourself.
Well, I mean, you could look at it in this way. At the end of the day, you have about 4,000 still awaiting for their lands and leases. You could look at it that under the People's Partnership government, they would have received the monies that they would have paid for their residential lots, they were able to get that back through the efforts, of course, of men like Rakib Mohammed and myself. Under the PNM government, you had the sugar welfare loans being written off now, something we would have fought for. And under the PNM government, you had the 116 who were still awaiting reimbursement being finally paid. So both parties would have made a lot of noise about the ex-colony workers, and I lump the both parties together. Their statements are laughable. It's a joke. I would not even dignify the talk about ex-colony workers by any of the political parties with a response now.
But can you give the assurance that as the head of the union, you will continue to articulate the views and the concerns of this group?
Well, I will do it as best as I can. I have done all that I can. If I call on ex-colony workers to come out and you have 7,000 waiting and you see 200, and certainly someone told me, and I always tell you, if colony workers wanted their lands, they would have gotten their lands a long time ago and their leases. I mean, we have done what we can, and I will continue to speak about it when the issue arises, but it can't. I think colony workers now have to go to Oropouche East, Oropouche West, Couva North, Couva South, Pointe-a-Pierre, Colony Central, these new members of parliament, and appeal to these new members of parliament to raise the issue at the level of parliament. And that is the only way their issues could be solved. And the leader of the opposition made a promise that she will deal with outstanding issues if she wins. She may not have won, but certainly she's still in parliament. And I think the ex-colony workers need to go to the leader of the opposition and appeal to her to continue to raise the issue of colony in parliament as well, because parliament is the only place it could be solved, really. It's all about political will.
Mr. Maraj, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to being in your company again.
Thank you very much, Ken.
All the best to you. I know you have a busy week ahead of you tomorrow, and I would imagine even the weekend.
Certainly.
Stay safe, my friend.
Thank
Stay
you
healthy.
very much. Same
observe social distancing and observe all of the guidelines as issued by the Ministry of Health. Good morning to you and have a great day.
Good morning. Take care, Ken.
Thank you very much. The voice there of Mr. Nirvan Maraj as the president and by extension the membership of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union continue to partner with us here at 975. Stay with us. I'll be right back after these messages.
Only the people can save the people. This is the mantra of the National Solidarity Assembly. Join its political leader and president of the All Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, Nirvan Maharaj, as he invites you to join these organizations and other top executives on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper for 2 one-hour monthly features as they discuss the concerns and challenges facing the working class of this country, tackling the issues, generating bold talk, finding solutions, bringing the workers' agenda to the front burner, and providing a new vehicle. That's the NSA's mission. Be part of this informative panel discussion with operatives from the NSA. Only happening here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U97.5.
Greeted in the wonderful name of Jesus. My name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, your chachi, your chacha, your grandpa, your grandma. We need to pray for our nation. God bless you. Thank you.
To you, Newsday Classifieds. Take Value Optical to be your partner.
I do.
I do.
I now pronounce free eye test from Value Optical for Newsday Classified customers. Call the Newsday Classified reps for more information. You may now kiss the bride.
Let's talk Guyana. Join me, Uma Ratan Singh, as I bring you news, updates, information, culture, and traditions of Guyana. Let's talk Guyana, Mondays to Thursdays, just after the 10 a.m. news headlines on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. It's Yummy Tummy Time with Umi. I am Uma Ratan Singh inviting you to join me on Yummy Tummy with Umi. Mondays to Thursdays, just after the 10 a.m. news update and Let's Talk Guyana. Yummy Tummy with Umi brings to you exciting and tasty recipes, and you can even learn to recreate dishes using leftovers. Yummy Tummy with Umi on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Catch us on YouTube at RCL U975 and Facebook. Remember to eat healthy, stay happy. Happy eating!
Well, now that the election is over and the results have come in, the preliminary results coming in from the EBC would have indicated that the People's National Movement would have won 22 seats and the United National Congress 19 seats. The People's National Movement would have won the popular votes, as I said, contrary to what the United National Congress is saying today. Now, those figures are preliminary figures. But I want to move on to another issue here. And this issue is concerning COVID-19. And I want you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to listen to this clip. I took the opportunity of actually plucking it yesterday. Listen to this.
And as we've seen, there's been a fair amount of gathering and movement over the past few days, which, as the CMO alluded to, we expect will cause an increase in the number of cases. What we would like to emphasize is that the public health guidelines that we have given repeatedly are the ones that still hold if persons are ill, if persons have
Well, that is the voice there of Dr. Avery Hines, Technical Director in charge of epidemiology at the Ministry of Health, saying that we can expect, or rather prepare for the worst, given the fact that within the last couple of weeks there would have been this movement of a mass of people coming into close contact with one another. And in light of that, well, the health system will be overwhelmed with a number of cases. And just let me remind you that in Trinidad and Tobago, we would have recorded 326 cases thus far. There are now 179 active cases of the virus. So we need to be very, very careful outside there, people. And again, in that press conference yesterday, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasram, and Dr. Avery Hines, they are again reminding you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the national population, to ensure that you adhere to all of the guidelines. Wearing a mask, although it is not mandatory, yes, the wearing of mask is necessary at this time, especially when you are out in the public conducting any business affairs or what have you. The wearing of mask is very, very critical if we need to, let's say, put a lid on the virus. We need to do that. And no doubt in the coming days, as the CMO would have said, well, we can expect an increase in the number of coronavirus cases in the country. So we need to be very, very careful indeed. According to Dr. Parasram, he said, quote, if you have a crowd of 1,000 people gathering and no one has COVID-19 or COVID-19 related symptoms, obviously, out of that one event, nothing will happen. But if you have one person carrying the virus and you're a crowd of, let's say, 10 or 15 people, well, the chances are that you could be infected. So again, social distancing, be mindful that you are only allowed to gather in groups of 10. Yes, people note that in groups of 10. And when you go outside, ensure that you wear a mask, you sanitize or wash your hands, and observe social distancing. But there's another question which we have, or another matter which we need to address too. That is, school will be opened on the 1st of September. Well, let me rephrase. According to the authorities, school is scheduled to open on the 1st of September. Today, it's the 13th of August. Now, the discussion has already started whether school should be reopened or not, and how challenging it could or would be for the authorities when or if it is open on that date. So we will continue to look at that story, and of course we look at all of the developments taking place in the country as it relates to this matter. COVID-19, people. Let me give you some figures here. The death toll from COVID-19, 751,548. Let me repeat that figure again. 751,548. Deaths in Trinidad and Tobago, 8. Number of cases, 326. And the virus is raging, people. Yes, it is raging in North America, more so in Florida. And as our good friend here this morning told us, Mr. Nirvan Maharaj, in India. India now has what you call the third highest number of cases in the world. Yes. And even closer at home, Brazil, which is being viewed as the epicenter of the virus. Even to in Venezuela, my understanding, there are over 16,000 cases of COVID-19 in Venezuela. And yet, we have some of these people continue to cross onto our borders here. So it's something which you need to look at very, very carefully indeed. Let me take this call on the line. Hello, good morning. All right, I'm sorry to miss your call, but you need to call us back. But at this time, which is just about 14 minutes here to the hour of 9 o'clock, I need to take a short commercial break. And when I come back, we'll continue with our discussion. 975 FM, Hot Like Pepper.
Wonderful name of Jesus. My name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, your chachi, your chacha, your grandpa, your grandma. We need to pray for our nation. God bless you. Thank you.
U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio is now on Facebook. Like us, follow and share our page. We'll be sharing the latest news, tips and much more. You can also view what's happening in our studio. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel at RCL U97.5.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canoopia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Canoopia. For all your plumbing and electrical supplies, water heaters, filters and water pumps. Plus all parts for Gould, Pentax and Leo pumps. Choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BT Sino, Leviton and General Electric. Call 665-6954 for more information. KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Canoopia.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canoopia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
It's Yummy Tummy Time with Irmi. I am Irma Ratan Singh inviting you to join me on Yummy Tummy with Irmi.
Yummy, yummy, yummy,
Mondays to Thursdays, just after the 10 a.m. news update and Let's Talk Guyana. Yummy Tummy with Umi brings to you exciting and tasty recipes, and you can even learn to recreate dishes using leftovers. Yummy Tummy with Umi on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. Catch us on YouTube at RCL U975 and Facebook. Remember to eat healthy, stay happy. Happy eating!
Yes, indeed, and thanks for staying with us here at 975 FM on Hot Like Pepper. We're moving up to the hour of 9 o'clock. It's just about 12 minutes here to the hour of 9. And that time check came to you courtesy radio on 975 FM on Hot Like Pepper. Well, it's about that time where I need to say my final goodbye for the day and usher in the Bees Hi-Fi into our studio here for his version of Mid-Morning and You. Note that next week, let me touch on a bit of a sport here. Well, the Caribbean Premier League is on, and of course that will start next week with all of the matches playing here in this country. Most of all of these matches will be played at the Queen's Park Oval and at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. A number of players they are in quarantine at the Trinidad Hilton. And from all reports, all of the players would have tested negative thus far for COVID-19. And the question begs to be asked, how prepared are these players to engage in this competition, knowing that they will undergo training in a bubble? That will be quite challenging indeed. But probably tomorrow I will try to get a conversation with Omar Khan, who is the manager of the Guyana Amazon Warriors, a noted cricket enthusiast, one who would have managed the West Indies and, of course, Trinidad and Tobago. I'll try to get a conversation with him in terms of readiness and preparation for this tournament. Note that this tournament will be played in this country from the 18th of this month. So we're in for some very exciting cricket games indeed, folks. 975 FM Hot Like Pepper. Let me wish each and every one of you a safe and a productive day. Thank you very much for choosing 975 as your radio of choice. To all of our callers, well, it's always a pleasure to host you on the program, to share discussions with you. Let me thank my good friend Nirvan Maraj for dropping by this morning and for sharing this studio with me. Note that you can join Mr. Maraj again next week Friday right here on 975 FM as they continue. When I say they, are talking about the trade union itself, the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union, as they continue to build capacity with us here at 975. Stay with us. Up next, the Bees Hi-Fi will be taking you until the hour of 12 today. Good morning, people. I'm out of here. By the way, before I go, let me remind you that we've got the Saharan dust in the air. And the Met Office would have said that those people who are suffering with respiratory ailments, well then, folks, you need to take, as I said, all the necessary precautions. And COVID-19, yes, 326 cases. Be careful outside there, folks. Be careful outside. Take all the necessary guidelines. Good morning, people. I'm out of here. But before I go, I want to leave you with one of my favorite selections. And of course, I had about 2 callers this morning who would have complimented this young lady for this selection. An original done by The Merchant, Build a Nation Together. Well, tomorrow, at just around after the 7 o'clock hour, I'll present that selection for you. But in the meantime, I want you to listen to this selection. It's one of my favorites.